Let's continue our discussion of Keith Hayward's book, Infantilised. This is the fourth part of our interpretation. Today's topic is the impact of infantilisation on democratic politics. This may remind you of Neil Postman's 1980s classic, Amusing Ourselves to Death. Postman argued that the entertainment-saturated society was weakening democracy. If he were alive today and saw how entertainment had evolved into outright infantilisation, he might say, "See? I saw this coming." And perhaps the situation is even worse than he anticipated. In Postman's era, television was dominant. Politicians occasionally had to perform for the public, but politics itself was not performance. And when it was still the performance of adults. TV, after all, was a centralized medium. You needed a certain level of qualification, or at least approval from gatekeepers to appear on screen. Today's media, however, is decentralized. Anyone can become an internet celebrity. In a world where attention is more valuable than ever, once you have the public's attention, you can do almost anything. Take Donald Trump, for example. On the eve of his inauguration, he launched Trump coins. This would have been unthinkable in the past. No matter how you justify it, this was a case of monetizing one's own fame. How can a president wield both power and pursue profit? Yet the American public didn't seem to mind. Look at Trump's cabinet picks. Arguably the most unqualified in U.S. history. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was only 44 at the time, had never held a senior military command, and the largest unit he led had fewer than 200 people. He rose to fame as a Fox News host. Reports also surfaced about alcohol abuse, sexual misconduct, and financial mismanagement. Can you imagine someone like that becoming the second highest authority in the U.S. military? Then there was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. appointed as health secretary, despite having no basic knowledge of vaccines. Tulsi Gabbard was named Director of National Intelligence, in charge of 18 intelligence agencies including the CIA, despite being just 43 years old, with no large-scale organizational experience. Her only government role being 2 years on the House Committee on Homeland Security. Can such a group really govern the United States? Maybe the times really have changed. Perhaps now is the era of amateurs in politics. In ancient China, civil service officials selected via imperial examinations were just scholars. They had no practical experience but managed quite well with the help of staff and clerks. We don't yet know how things will develop. Hayward's book highlights a trend. The infantilization of society is making politics less professional, more entertainment-driven, and even childish. This trend carries certain risks. It's difficult to assess whether any potential benefits outweigh those risks. My goal is to offer you a lens through which to observe social and political changes. Politicians have always enjoyed self-promotion. For example, Ronald Reagan, who came from an acting background, understood cameras well and made politics his stage, winning over the public with his charisma. Or take Bill Clinton, who once wore sunglasses and played the saxophone on a talk show during the 1992 campaign. It was unconventional but also relatable. These acts were examples of celebrification, not infantilization. But today's politics has become child's play. Trump's behavior is not just unstatesmanlike. It's downright childish. When pop star Taylor Swift endorsed his opponent Kamala Harris, Trump posted on social media, "I hate Taylor Swift." In a country like the US you expect all kinds of people, but only a child would talk like that. And it's not just Trump. During her campaign, Hillary Clinton compared herself to Wonder Woman, a cartoon figure. Even her husband, despite his flair for showmanship, would never have done something like that. Hayward cites examples from the UK as well. The government under David Cameron loved to hire social media influencers as advisors. A TV chef who became famous for teaching recipes on air was asked to help perform school and hospital meals. A real estate show host was brought in to discuss housing policy. Even actors and singers were appointed as crime consultants. Do these people really understand public policy? Politicians have become attention-grabbing stars. Citizens have become fans. Their interaction is increasingly influencer-like. In 2012, Cameron tried to shape his image by publicly claiming he spent a lot of time playing Angry Birds. Hayward saw this as deliberate branding. On one side is authenticity. On the other is pandering. The infantilization of politics is a mutual courtship between the people and politicians. But if you ask me, it starts with the people, who are becoming more childish. Modern politics is increasingly dominated by emotion over reason. Look at today's political programs, interviews or news alike. They're all obsessed with feelings, not facts. When a disaster strikes in the US, reporters ask survivors, "How do you feel? Are you angry? Are you sad?" Instead of asking whether emergency protocols failed, or what policy gaps were exposed. After the Brexit referendum, reporters asked people, "What about the Brexit plan makes you most angry? What did you feel when the results came out?" Not, "What's your opinion on EU immigration policy or trade regulations?" In American elections, voters cry, "Give me hope. Comfort my emotions." Not, "Is your economic policy viable?" Emotions matter, yes. But when they are excessively amplified, rational discourse is sidelined. Public debate no longer centers on data or logic. One consequence of emotional dominance is the spread of fake news. A MIT study found that fake news spreads 6 times faster than the truth on Twitter. Emotion is shallow. Today's street protests rarely present coherent political demands. Instead, they're emotional outbursts, tantrums, even celebrations. Take environmental protests, for example. They've become theatrical. Protesters go topless or dress like characters from The Handmaid's Tale. There's no organization, no sustained action, no interest in results. It's performative chaos. Perhaps the most striking example is the woke movement. Initially, woke was a call to expose systemic inequality, especially against Black Americans. The word meant stay awake. Be alert to racial injustice, police brutality, and judicial bias. It spread through hip-hop lyrics and protest slogans. Then it was co-opted by white middle-class liberals. Not because they cared about Black lives, but because they cared about expressing their concern. Wokeness became a way to showcase moral superiority. What have these people done for Black communities? Have they reformed policing? Funded education? They don't care. Woke became a symbol of identity, a badge of virtue. The movement expanded to include LGBTQ issues. Then corporations jumped in, using it for branding and values marketing. Eventually, solving systemic problems took a backseat to identity obsession. Am I part of the oppressed? If you're Black or LGBTQ, you fit the victim mold and are seen as righteous. Everyone else is an oppressor. This binary thinking soon escalated into a witch hunt. Anyone deemed anti-woke, professors, public figures, had to immediately confess or face cancellation and social death. Shouldn't social problems be solved through open debate and negotiation? Shouldn't we analyze each issue thoroughly and test which reforms work? The real problems are things like systemic racism, economic inequality, and unequal education. But no one is interested in that anymore. They only want to declare their identity. When did having strong feelings become a celebrated virtue? The infantilized public brings 3 defining features to modern politics. 1. Inability to solve real problems. A core function of democracy is public scrutiny, exposing issues to foster discussion and solutions. But now, people focus on superficial distractions instead of serious matters. Real issues fester and worsen over time. When dissatisfaction peaks, many won't even know why. 2. Emotional politics. The public's feelings are intense, and they expect politicians to offer instant solutions. 3. Craving for authoritarianism. Emotional voters want problems fixed now. Only demagogues make such promises. The people demand a strongman, and one appears. Whoever offers simple, brutal answers gains favor. Children naturally idolize strength, like infants longing for their parents. A quick fix is more appealing than complex reform. This reminds me of Emperor Chongzhen of the late Ming dynasty. Faced with Manchu invasions and overwhelmed by emotions, he longed for a savior. Yuan Chonghuan offered a 5-year plan to pacify Liao, and Chongzhen immediately trusted him. But anyone rational knew the plan was impossible. Yuan's real goal was simply to gain power. When the promise failed, hope turned to rage, and things fell apart. In modern democracies, the voter is the emperor. The president may become Yuan Chonghuan. Trump's policies, withdrawing from international groups, attacking immigrants, launching trade wars with China, were all simplistic responses to emotional demands. Experts warned of second-order and third-order effects, but no one cared. Some scholars saw promise in Trump's radicalism. Perhaps disruption could revive a stagnant system. Sometimes, breaking the rules forces necessary change. We can't predict the future. But now, at least, you have a perspective. It's like watching two teams in a game, one attacking aggressively, the other playing defensively. You can analyze the strategies, but you can't predict sudden twists or the final outcome. Still, you start to see the pattern. History is shaped by many intersecting trends. Hayward's book focuses on just one: infantilisation. We don't know how dominant this trend will be. But we do know that turning politics into child's play is dangerous. It can lead to national crises. Crises, in turn, strengthen support for authoritarianism. In the modern world, children are usually safe. But as children, they might still mess things up. Or get bullied by grown-ups. That's it for today's content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.